lovely, wonderful, talented artist today. And to tell you that the reason I invited Deb is because she's here on behalf of MCC Reads. Our two selections for this year are The Road and Life as We Knew It. Wonderful books, but kind of heavy, kind of dark themes, and you can see the covers are not super colorful. And so I said to Deb, do you ever do dark sketches? That was a silly question. She does everything. So this is my bad friend, Debbie Bell, and I've known Debbie for quite a few years, and I've met her through MCC, and she is married to the wonderful Dr. Lance Miller. So if you know Lance is an instructor, you've either had him as a student or maybe you know him as a colleague. This is his better half. He's pretty great on his own, but she is definitely the better half. Deb works outside of art, but is still working in art, and she has done some beautiful things for me. She did a lovely 80th birthday card for me that I was so happy to purchase, but she also does other art for people. So if you want to just tell a little bit about yourself, Deb, before we get started.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you had me when I was here, but I taught in the North Building, and I taught for 11 years, all the introductory classes, and I loved it. And this is a great campus to be on, so you guys are all really lucky. And you have fabulous instructors, I think a couple of them over here, and administration. But yeah, one of the things I did teach was charcoal in my introductory class, and I taught both black on white paper and white on black paper. So that's what we'll do today that goes along with the theme for her book. But what I'm doing now, since COVID, I lost my job at COVID because they did cut some of the art classes out when they returned to face-to-face classes. But I went ahead and became a vendor, and I am in 4 locations right now. I'm at Forest Hills Foods. You can find my work in the floral department. I paint on flower pots, and I also paint wine glasses and cups for the beer and wine department and grocery. I'm also at Knapp Corner at the family fair there. And I just got into Breton Village, and I'm at Ada Market. So if you go in any of those stores, you can see my work. And before you leave, if you want my card, you can look on my Facebook. I always post my work on Facebook, so that way if anybody's interested in something I just put in the store, they can go and get it. Or if they would like a personal order, I do commissioned work, and people get a hold of me through Facebook or call me or whatever. So yeah. So I'm still actively doing art, which I love to do, and it's great. So we'll get started with talking about the materials. We have different kinds of paper. You have 2 on top and 1 different kind. If you feel of it, you can feel the difference. The 2 on top are just black construction paper, and they work really well just to practice on. So I thought we could start with a couple things with that. And the bottom piece is more like cardstock paper, and this is actual black charcoal paper. So this is a little more durable, and it's a little smoother if you feel of them. The construction paper has a little bit of a texture, not much, but a little bit of a texture to it, and this is more slick of a surface. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I have a guide here that's going to help me, but we have a white charcoal pencil, and they blend pretty well, but I also have a stick of chalk because I like to use this to really lay in my background. If ever I'm doing a big area, I like to just put it all in and then just blend. I use my fingers a lot for blending. Some people like to, if they don't like to be messy, some people have texture issues, right? Or sensitivity. That you can wrap it around a piece of Kleenex or paper towel, and you can blend like this. And I always blend in a circular motion when I blend because I like to get an even tone. So that's, and I'll talk to you about that along the way. We have a wet wipe because, you know, it's a real dry feeling. And sometimes you just want to keep your hands clean. So use that at any time because, you know, the white charcoal will stick to your fingers, and then when you go to touch your paper, you'll end up with probably fingerprints on there. And then, of course, the kneaded eraser is really nice because you can gradually get out, and I'll just show you on this picture. Okay. You can gradually, by just pushing and lifting, you see that right there? So just like by pushing and lifting, or just by rubbing it a little bit, you can gradually get some of that whiteness out. If you got it too white, you can go like that. And then to clean that spot up, you just fold it in like this, just stretch and fold. If you need to get a little spot, you can mold it into like a point, and you can erase with that. You can actually erase like a line if you need to, right? So, I love these erasers. And they don't leave any residue. So, you know, like with a regular eraser, you're erasing with it and you got the crumbly things on there and you're blowing it off, or you want to go like this, which would ruin a charcoal picture, right? Because then you would smear it. You don't have to worry about that because this leaves no residue, so it's really nice. Okay, let's get started. Now that you know the materials. Oh, and you got the pencil sharpener, that works great. I think a regular crank pencil sharpener is a little easier on it than an electric one. So let's take your construction type paper and let's start a little practice. I thought maybe it would be fun to do a feather and maybe like an old dandelion. You know, I guess there's a name for the old dandelion. What is it? Anybody know? Aged dandelion. Okay. So let's start with, oh, we have a couple guests, so we'll wait till we get sat down. Welcome, guys.
I like that.
All right. So you guys can decide. We're using charcoal, white charcoal pencil on the construction paper that's on top. And you have a square that you can unwrap in your tray, and that's a kneaded eraser. And the reason they call it a kneaded eraser, it's K-N-E-A-D-E-D. Not only do you knead it like you would bread by folding it in, right? When you make bread, you fold it in, if anybody's familiar with making bread, to clean it up. You also knead it, right? We need this, like N-E-E-D. So, anyway, so that's what you need today as an eraser. And you can pull it and stretch it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and just make a curved line as long as you want. So the harder you push, the whiter it is. And then as you let up on pressure, as you go toward the top, the line is going to get darker because more of the paper is going to show through, right? So when you push hard, it's going to show more white. And then as you let up on the pressure, the more of the paper will show through that line.
That's a horrible noise.
Yeah. Chalkboard.
Thank goodness.
Okay. And then we can make like a little teardrop at the bottom. Teardrop. You see that? And then we can take at the top of the teardrop, you can go like this and gradually help it meet the top. So that's like the thickness of the feather. And we can just go ahead and fill that in.
I love that, that's funny.
And you'll notice that there is a little bit of residue from the charcoal, and what you can do is, away from your friend that you're sitting by, you can just go and just blow it off. So I guess the key thing to know is not to go like this, right? So that you're not smearing the, okay. Good. Nice to see you.
Hi. Okay. So I'll just have you find a spot and unwrap your eraser and you can just follow along here with what Deb is doing, okay? Yep.
So there's a square eraser inside of your tray that has cellophane on it. Just take that cellophane off, and that's your eraser, and you can just stretch it and get it ready to go. And then we made a curved line on here, a double curved line, and we filled it in. Okay, so on the bottom of the feather, there are these frayed lines right here that we can add, right here. So we're going to go ahead and add just a few short and long frayed lines. And it's okay that some of them are overlapping. And cross over, some of them are crooked and bent because, you know, when feathers are out on animals in nature, they get bent up, they get, the feathers are used by the birds that they're on. And then all we're going to do is we're going to make the same kind of, I just made like the same kind of shape. It's like a petal shape. So I'll show you how to do one, and then you should be able to do other ones like it. And they just get smaller and smaller as they go up. But I'll put this one right beside this one so you can see.
Yeah, log in, it'll have your cue up there, you can delete that one too.
So we're going to go ahead and start here, and we're going to go out and curve it back. And then we'll do the same thing to the next one, and we'll add all the, what we call value. Value is the degree of light to dark, and we'll add all those different values to this feather when we're done. So you're just going to go out and back all the way up this feather. And then when you get toward the top, you can make them tighter. So closer together and smaller.
Concept review? Pretty easy. I thought you were going to say men's
And if the width of your pencil line becomes real wide, it's because it's not sharp anymore and you might have to sharpen it.
You know what I did? I did it again. I didn't want to be this time. It's a key. I'm not.
I'm just going to walk around. If you guys need my help, you can just let me know. Texture. She's doing a good job.
Yeah, they're still together.
Making that big.
Fish is trying.
So it always reminds me when I'm doing white charcoal on black paper, if you've ever worked with film, the negatives from the roll of film is opposite. So we're adding the light to the dark instead of the dark to the light on a regular piece of paper. So then all I'm going to do is, when you're done with that, is I'm just going to add strokes coming in from the end. And just a few strokes hugging up to the white line on the outside. And that where it touches the bane of the feather or the stalk of the feather, I don't even know what that's called. There's probably a name for it. Michelle, would you happen to know?
Probably the stalk, or the vein, yes.
I don't know.
Central rachis, but I don't know what it is now.
Anyway, you're just going to add those lines down like this. Another thing that you can use this paper towel for is to lay down where you're resting your hand. Because a lot of times we will have white charcoal right here on our hand from rubbing it on the paper, and then you have smear like I did right here, or my hand rub. So you can overlay it, and then you have something to rest your hand on. And I'm just adding some strokes along the outside tip of my white charcoal. And when you hug up to that line then disappears, which is really nice because then it looks like a solid free form. When you have a hard outline and nothing's hugging up to it, it becomes very cartoonish. So if you ever want something to be more realistic, you hug up to the line. And sometimes we want it to be cartoonish, but sometimes we don't.
I don't think so, because it's small. I would actually really like your lines.
So you just do this to all of your sections. Just give it some strokes from the top going down, hugging up to that outer line.
Are you all set? Okay.
One thing that art teaches you is patience, right?
Maybe.
And a nice understanding of shape. You begin to see shadows more than you ever saw before once you understand how to use your darks and lights to separate shadow from the form. And if ever you were like, oh, I didn't really want that much white right there, just take your kneaded eraser and you can push and lift. And then you can fold that spot in on your eraser. If you've got some smudges on the outside and you want to clean it up, you can just erase those out. Yeah.
Look at them, they're really wonderful.
I always think things look a little spooky. White charcoal on black paper. Has a little spooky. Wow, look at this shirt over here. I like it.
Did you want to sit down and join in? Yep. And we're going to do another project, so you don't need to feel like you need to catch up, because we're going to do some more, so you'll be able to start right at the beginning.
I'm going to open these up. They're a eraser, okay? And just so you know, with a kneaded eraser, it doesn't dry out, okay? So you don't have to and you'll get to take these home.
Yeah, everything on your desk you get to take with you, so you can play around at home.
Oh,
It might go in my fridge.
Excellent.
but these don't dry out, so you don't have to worry about. You getting it? All right, so that's like a little taste test, right? Of what we can do. Let's go on to the dandelion, just for another little fun exercise. So let's start with, on that same piece of paper even, or if you want to use this as a card, maybe you want to use it for a card or something. You could always use the next paper. It's up to you. If you need to sharpen it, go ahead and sharpen it. Sometimes if you notice a pencil breaking really easy, a lot of times they get broken up inside of the wood casing. So that's why you might have one that breaks a lot. It just depends on the travel that it had. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with making a spot on your paper. And blowing it away from your neighbor. Or make it could be an oval.
You can just wipe it on my hand. It'll be fine. It'll be all good.
Okay, and then you can push and drag the stem down. So pressure. Drag it on down.
Perfect.
Okay, and we're just going to go away from the center
Okay, and your first name?
with different lengths of lines. You'll notice that when I'm talking, sometimes I hesitate, and it's because my brain, you know, you got the language on the left, you got the creative part on the right, and it's like fighting each other. And you'll notice that if you ever watch, I know all of you know Bob Ross, he does the same thing. He'll probably, in his videos, probably hesitate when he's trying to draw and
Kind
speak
of
at the
looks like
same
one of
time.
those plasma balls.
So you can go ahead and do different lengths. They can be crooked, it doesn't matter.
And then the other.
You know, the wind blows and makes things a little crazy sometimes and not super straight. So that'll make it look a little random, look a little natural. And then at the end of each, or at least some of them, you're just going to make a little dot. A little dot at the end of each.
For the same 12:30 to 3. All right, I'll have you in, and we'll see you tomorrow at 12:30 in the library, and we can go right on over tonight. Okay? You're welcome. Bye-bye.
And then when you're done with that, you're going to make the little fuzzies that come out from each of those little dots. So you're going to make little tiny lines that go around it like that. Hopefully you can see that. So just go all the way around like a little pinwheel around each of those dots. How they doing, Katie?
You're doing wonderful. This is really nice. So detailed and really excellent. They're keeping right up, so good flow.
And if the point is getting dull, make sure you're sharpening.
This is really hard.
It's hard, but you're doing fabulous.
Scary flowers.
Oh, it does kind of look like Queen Anne's lace. Yep.
And yours looks like a water hemlock, because they're more spread apart. She's an artist.
And some of you may be saying, why did I put so many dots on here? Now look what I have to do.
she's broken. Through it. Looks good there. Fix it. There's so much deer shit over there. I guess we did.
He's coming out like papers.
I made mine pretty. Yeah. You texted me. If you create my mom is forcing me to go on a double date with her and her friend Jody's son. Like me, Jody's son, Jody, and her.
And when I see most of you ready to move on, I'm gonna probably move on, but just keep your ears open on what you need to do next, or take a glance up. It's never a race when we do art, it's just everybody works at different speeds. And all is okay, as long as you feel good about it. Okay, so to do the little wispies that fly out and try to reseed themselves, you're just going to, and I'll do an extra one right here so you can see it. You're just gonna make a dot, fling it out, end it with another dot, and then bring the little wispies coming out of the top and sides. If that makes sense to you. I'll do it on this one, but I just wanted to show you over on that one. So you can just make a dot, drag it out, make a dot at the top, and then you can bring out some wispies from there. And I just have them curving on the sides and then bring them up. I don't have any really going down because they're kind of floating off. These called, when they get to that stage, aren't they called like wish blossoms or something?
Call them dandelion first.
Oh yeah, dandelion first, but then after they dry out, they call the wish something.
They do, you can make a wish and then
Yeah.
your wish is going into the wind, into the universe.
So you can make as many as you want floating on.
I have meetings.
I love it.
These are drawing dandelions, we're supposed to first time trying to kill them.
You have a better respect for them now, right?
Yeah. Which is really kind of sad, because they're a beautiful yellow color.
I know.
But we spend so much time trying to get them out of our yard all the time.
My dad used to dip them in batter, the heads of them, dip them in batter and deep fry them,
Really?
and we would eat them. Yeah. They're good.
Tanya, I think, was the one who said that they dipped in batter too and fried them and ate them.
You had them too?
They're good.
Yeah.
They're all caught up, it should be good.
That's a beautiful sound.
Anything to turn dandelion into steaks, you know, miraculous.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can start with a fresh piece of paper. And maybe we could move on to, we could do the landscape that Katie was wanting a landscape, so I had a couple different ones. I had a lighthouse and then I had a regular pine tree
That's what I'm
one.
good at.
We can start out with, let's do the pine tree one. I don't know if
People.
we'll get to the other one, honestly. But let's go ahead and lightly make a horizon line. So I always say it's best to not go to the middle of the paper, either go down from the middle or above in the middle, whether you want more sky or more land. So you can just kind of lightly go across where the sky is meeting the land. It doesn't have to be straight because we know our land is lumpy and bumpy, right? So it's okay. Let's go ahead and give our border to our lake or river. Let's go ahead and start toward the middle, maybe offset it a little bit toward the right, and just kind of wiggle a line however you want. It's going down. That's going to be the edge of the land where the sand is, probably, or the dirt. And then we'll start over here lightly and make the sand on this side, where the edge of the land meets the water. And then we can go ahead and start putting in our pine trees once we're done with that. And if you need to sharpen, you can. So I'll show you a pine tree as far as the shape of it, and then it's up to you how tall you want them. So if they're far away, they're going to appear to be smaller. Not that they are smaller, but if they look like they're smaller, you would make them, in the distance, you would make them probably really small back here. So I just kind of start at the top, and I just ziggy-zaggy in and out, and get wider as I go down. So I start up here, and out and back, down one side, and then start up at the top, swag it out and back a little further each time so that it is like a triangle, like a frayed out triangle. So you can do that and get bigger as you go out toward the sides of your paper. And you can also, if it's going to be toward us, it's going to be really big and it's going to be on the land more. So this one right here that I'm drawing is going to be really big and it can overlap that horizon line. And you can do that, you can set these trees wherever you want and however big you want them. Some trees might overlap other trees. Like I could have this tree interrupt that tree by going in front of it, and it's a little larger then. If it's in front, toward me, toward the viewer, it's going to be larger. Off in the distance, it'll be smaller. So you can do as many trees as you want in your picture. Just back, out and back is what you have to remember. Michelle probably could tell you that there's white pines and different shaped pine trees, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or Heather, one of you. I don't know, who's teaching nature?
Heather more than me.
Okay.
We'll make her guilty. But I do plant a lot of white
Yeah,
pines in my house because they're native
You
and
you do
hard to
everyone
kill.
do, less than, I would make a hole too.
They don't have
Yep, I
nearly
see.
the
Right there. I
diseases
would
some of the
scrape
other
that.
ones have.
Deb, this is a creative group. They're really,
I know.
they're working
I can
quietly,
see it from here.
thoughtfully, and this is
Yeah, all
really
these
working.
decisions, look at all these decisions that you have to make. How many trees, how big, where should I put them? So we're probably gonna place our moon above the river. So when the moon shines, it's gonna illuminate the tree facing the moon. So we wanna make sure that we have a light side of the tree and a dark side of the tree, right? So what we're gonna do, and I'll show you one, and you can do this to all of them. You're just going to, like we did the feather, you're just gonna do strokes toward the middle. And it's okay to have like rows, like do a row going where it goes out. You can fill that in a little bit with strokes, and then as you go in toward the middle of the tree, you can do less and less strokes because you want it to go into the darkness. So hug up to your outside line on the side that's gonna face your moon. And if you can see on the picture, the moon is here, and then everything facing the moon is going to be lit up. Hopefully that makes more sense.
If you have to leave for class, I'm gonna get you jewelry. Make sure you take your supplies with you because including the pencil and all of that, make sure you take that with you because that's for you to keep working on,
I gotta go.
okay?
You should probably go.
And there's, again, as Deb said, there's no rush to anything on this, but I just wanted you to know to take those. And I will hand you a little lunch to go too, when you need to. I do know it's about 1:45.
Okay.
I'll see you whenever I see you.
So just so you know what to do when you're done with that, just in case you guys have to get going and you want to know. I use the chalk on its side to hug up to the land, and then as I go up, I have less and less. So I just kind of lay it on its side and hug up to the trees. I'm not pushing real hard, I'm just giving it just a gentle gradation. So I'm like laying my chalk right down on its side, and I'm just rubbing real lightly, hugging up to the trees. And then if I want to make it real smooth, I just take my finger, I usually use my ring finger, and I just kind of do a circular motion, and I just rub it in. The reason I do a circular motion is because it gets down into the grains and the grooves of the paper. So I just use my chalk, I lay it on its side, and I lightly rub up to the tree, all the way across, lightly rub. So it's just a light gray, and then I just, once I get it all laid down, then I just go like this and I do a circular motion to rub it in. And when you're done with that, you can put your moon in. And that is, I use the chalk. And I'm just going to draw myself a circle and fill it in. And I'm going to go off to the side away from my neighbor. And don't spit on the paper because then that spot will dissolve. And then you can rub that so that it goes down into those grooves. And go beyond the edge of the moon a little bit and it'll create that aura. That aura of white. So you rub that in after you blow to the side and rub that in. And keep going even beyond that outer edge just a little bit to give it that little aura. And then on the edge of the bank of the river, I use my charcoal again. I'm hugging up to the sides. And I'm just doing some strokes, horizontal strokes on the side of the river where the bank is, where the moon might be illuminating that a little bit, and I just hug right up to the line. And I can do that on both sides. Now, some of you might want to know, well, how do I protect this from smearing? There's a couple different things you can do. You can buy a spray. It's Grumbacher's brand, Fixative, it's called. And it's like a dry hairspray. It's rather stinky, so you want to be in a ventilated area or be outside to spray it. Or you could use Aquanet hairspray, which is really inexpensive and it smells okay, right? So, thank you for coming. It's good to see you. I'm just grabbing the edge of that bank of the river and I'm pushing it out just a little bit.
Just do that. I don't want to bother you, but yeah. Thank you.
And then all we have left is the moon reflection in the water. And you can do just like you did above it. But then what you're going to do is you're going to use your pencil and you're going to make like wavy lines coming away from it. Just to show a little ripple in the water. then the last thing we'll do is put the stars in the sky. And I just went like this, and I twisted my pencil. I just point it right straight up and down. You can make any star formations that you want. If you want a big star, you can drill it a little bigger. You can put a few stars in the water that might be reflected. If you want a shooting star, you could actually go like this with your finger and go like this, right? Just grab
Isn't
it.
this amazing?
And
With a
drag
piece
it.
of paper and chalk and a charcoal pencil.
Yeah, you can just have fun with real
Yeah,
basic
all of them
materials.
are amazing. They followed your instructions so
You
well.
did.
and And Deb, can anybody be an artist?
If they practice and they have the passion, if you practice and passion, the two Ps, practice,
Very good.
passion, yep.
Very good. So anybody in here could do it
Yeah.
if they wanted to.
Yes, it's a learnable subject, for sure. It's just like forming the alphabet, right? It's all shapes. Every letter is a different shape. If someone shows you this, you know, how to create the shapes to form the letter, it's just like anything else out there. They're all made up of, everything out here is made up of shapes. And then, of course, color.
Very
And light and shadow. So that's why this is important to learn, it's about light and shadow. This really, when I learned about light and shadow, the light bulb came on for me up here. Because then I noticed that everything started looking more real. Because my work at first was very cartoony, and I thought it was fun, I thought it was okay, but I just wanted people that I drew to look real. And so once I started adding light and shadow to things, then they became more real, and that was very exciting.
Does anybody have a question for the artist?
Or you can, I have business cards if you ever want to text me a question, or call me, or email me, or Facebook message me. You know, we have so many ways to communicate now. You guys are welcome to, I'll pass them out just in case. You're welcome to ask me anything. I'd be happy to share what I know.
One question.
Okay.
Do you have a picture of what we would have done if we had more time? You said there was
Yes.
more things.
Yes, I have, I was going to have you do a lighthouse.
Oh, cool.
Because this is a little bit different texture too, right? Can you see that okay? Right there. So you can see just even scribbling is a technique, right? So you can see these bushes are just a bunch of scribbles. And the tighter the scribble, the lighter it is. The looser the scribbles, the darker it is because it allows more darkness in, right? More darker the paper. And you can do white charcoal on dark green paper, on dark blue paper, and it gives it a whole different look too. I'm going to give you guys a card if you ever have a question. There you go. And I'm always posting my work on Facebook so that people can see what I do, and if you have a question about anything like that, just let me know. These birds right here, these are like little mustaches, I like to call them. So for those birds, I just kind of go like this. I just start in the middle and I curve this way, and then I curve that way. And then you can give them a little tail feather if you want. So it's just easy little tips. And, you know, once you get the shape of a lighthouse, and they're all a little different, right? You can see where I leave a darker edge and then lighter edge. That gives people an idea of where the light's coming from. And with clouds, usually the top of the cloud is a lot darker, or lighter, I mean. So I'm pushing harder. And then I just go like this and blend down to make it look hazy and soft. So, all those fun things, right? Be fun to do a workshop sometime for anybody that's interested. I would love to do a workshop. Good to see you.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. All right, well, if you want to stay and fiddle around with your pictures, you're welcome to do that. If you have a question, you'd rather just come up and ask Debbie.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to hear that, but thank you, Deb. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.